Hello scrappers, welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to do something I've been wanting to do for a while, and several of you who watch my channel regularly and comment have expressed an interest in. We're going to render down a bunch of scrap LEDs for their gold. I've got several bags full of scrap LEDs here. I've got all kinds of LEDs. I've got big ones, little ones, surface mount ones, through hole ones, these dark colored ones. These are like out of infrared remote controls. They have black plastic bezels on them just to keep ambient light out, just let infrared light through. So I've got a lot of LEDs here, and it's time to do something with them, because I've always been a little bit curious about just how much gold there is in LEDs. Now, I know each little LED has at least one little whisker of gold in it. Some of the bicolor, tricolors, they'll have 2 or 3 little whiskers of gold, one whisker going to each different colored chip in there. But, you know, they're not like IC chips, which might have dozens of little whiskers of gold going to the dies in them. So, I'm not expecting to get a huge amount of gold out of these, but there is gold to be had. And up till now, I've always just mixed these in with my IC chips and my plastic IC chips and processed them the same way I process the plastic IC chips. But I thought, well, this would be interesting to see just what I get from LEDs alone. So, got quite a collection here. It's time to do something with them. So today I'm going to start the processing. Let me start by weighing them up and see just how much I have here. Let's see. Let's get it so you can see what the weight is. Okay. We're just like 10 grams short of a kilo. So 990 grams of LEDs, or, come on, 2 pounds 3 ounces exactly of LEDs. So we'll see just how much gold we get out of these almost a kilo, or 2 pounds 3 ounces of LEDs. Should be an interesting little experiment. So I've got a bucket over here, and I'm going to dump all the LEDs in the bucket. Spider in the bucket. He was about to have a really bad day, so I thought I should get him out. Alright. Come on. Everybody out of the bag. No stragglers. There's one bag. Here's all the infrared LEDs for remote controls. They're in the bucket. You know, there's always one or two that don't want to come out. There we go. Let's see. And the last bag here. This one's kind of taped shut. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Wow, look at that. Now don't worry, I have taken a lot of LEDs out of this collection for my own personal use, for my breadboard retro computing projects and things. So next step, we're going to make some AP solution, and we're going to soak these for a while. Okay. Time to hit these LEDs with some AP solution. Going to dissolve off all the metal legs and just leave behind the epoxy packaging and whatever's inside, including the gold bond wires. Now, you know, like I said, I'm not expecting to get a whole lot of gold out of this, because most of the weight, most of the nearly kilogram of LEDs in here, the weight is going to be from the metal legs and from the plastic packaging. So that's where most of the weight's going to be. But at least by soaking these in AP solution, we can get rid of the metal legs. And then what I will do is I will eventually incinerate the plastic packages, and the gold should be left behind in the leftover ash. But first we're going to get rid of these metal legs. I don't want to have to process all that metal, so gonna make enough AP solution here to just cover everything. And AP solution is half and half uriatic acid and hydrogen peroxide, for anybody who doesn't know. And it's really good at dissolving away metals. But there's a way to make it even better, and I'll show you that in a second. So I got the fresh AP solution in here. There's some bubbling going on, so it's starting to work already, but there's a way to speed it up. What I've got in this beaker is some spent AP solution that I've used for dissolving the legs off of IC chips. I'm going to add a little bit of this into here. Look how dark green that is. It's almost black because it's got a lot of dissolved copper and iron salts in it. And what that's going to do is, those salts are very, very corrosive. And what that's going to do is that's going to really jumpstart this fresh AP solution by adding all those extra metal salts to it. This is really going to go to town on those metal legs now and really start dissolving them away. It's still going to take a while, but that's okay. I've got time. In fact, I'm going on vacation soon. So I'm just going to let this sit till I get back. So it's just going to sit for a couple weeks. I'm going to leave the lid on loose because this is going to build up pressure otherwise. So I'll leave the lid on loose and I'll stash it somewhere out of the way, outside, because I don't want the fumes, the acid fumes in my workshop. It'll corrode everything. And we'll come back to it in a couple of weeks and see what we've got. Now for you, it's going to be no time at all. I'm going to go away. I'm going to come back. I'm going to process these. I'll edit it all together and we'll see how much gold we get. Alright, I'll see you on the other side of my vacation. Okay, it's been a long time coming, but went away for a couple of months. I've been back for a couple of months. I've been busy processing, all the stuff that Nick sent me in the mail call video I did a while back. And in that video, you can see he sent me a few kilos of IC chips to process, so I processed them. And I've been busy with other stuff. And finally, it's time to get back to these LEDs, which have been sitting here soaking for like the better part of 4 months. Woo. So we will see what we've got here. Hopefully, most of the exterior metal legs have been dissolved off. Now, I didn't have an air bubbler in this like I would normally like to have. I probably should have put one in. That would just keep the liquid circulating and also provide oxygen to help oxygenate the liquid, which helps make it more corrosive. But hopefully 4 months, most of the metal's gone. We'll see. Got a screen here, another bucket. I'm going to pour the contents because it's black and opaque. I can't really see anything. I see a few floating LEDs and a little bit of debris, but I really can't see much in there. It's just black and opaque. So I'm going to dump this through the screen and we'll see what we catch. Should be interesting after 4 months. I'll give you a look at it. I do still see some legs, so we didn't get rid of all the legs. Yeah, there's a lot of legs down on the bottom. So yeah, maybe I did need the air bubbler because there's still a lot of leg material here. It looks like mostly copper. So it looks like, the tin got stripped off. Oh, I know what that is. Yeah, that's a multi-LED thing. Looks like the tin got stripped off. A lot of the copper legs are loose on the bottom. So what to do with this stuff? Because it looks like we've kind of stagnated here after like 4 months. I think, what the heck, we're just going to process them. I'm done waiting. I think we're just going to process them. So, let me wash some of the acid off here, and off my hands too. Get everything into the screen. And then we'll go from there. Oh, I'm stuck to the sides. Some of them are small. I forgot how many small LEDs there were in here. Okay, looks like all debris. Okay. We got all the LEDs. It's all just debris after that. So let me wash some of the acid off. And then we will contemplate the next step in processing. Well, there really is a lot more metal here than I would like, and it's not just copper. There's a lot of steel too. So I was really hoping a lot more of this stuff would get dissolved before now. You know, I just processed a bunch of NICS chips, and there was a lot more steel. There was a lot of steel in them, and that presented some problems at a couple of points in the process. But okay, I'm aware of the problems. So, forewarned, let's say. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and process these and not worry too much about the fact that, yeah, okay, there's a lot of steel, there's a lot of copper left in there. I think we're just going to go ahead and process them and see what happens. So the next step is incineration. We want to get rid of the plastic, the epoxy. Get rid of that stuff. Then we'll just be left with basically ash and metals, and some of the metal will be gold. So let me get set up for incineration. Okay, just like I do when I process IC chips, just like I process NICS ICs, I've got them in a clay graphite crucible. I'm going to put this in my foundry furnace, and I'm going to burn off all of the plastic that's in there. I've inserted a steel brake line that goes all the way down to the bottom of the crucible, and that's going to blow a trickle of air in from the bottom so that we burn up all of the plastic from the bottom up as well as from the top down. That way we don't have an area in here where we're just pyrolyzing the plastic and turning it into nasty black carbon, which will absorb gold, and it's very hard to get it back out of. So I want to burn up all of the plastic to ash. I don't want to have any carbon left in there. So that's why I use this. So I'm going to put this in my foundry furnace, and we'll fire it up, and I'll show you that when it happens. I got to set up the furnace. Okay, here's the foundry furnace all set up. Got the LEDs in there in the crucible. The air line coming out. Got the lid for it over here, and I've got a chimney over here which is going to help reburn the smoke so I don't have a lot of particulates coming out. Back here there's a propane tank which is going to power the thing, and way in the back in the shadows is my little air compressor, which is going to provide a trickle of air into the furnace to burn the stuff in the bottom of the crucible from the bottom up. And of course I'll have an oxidizing fire in there that'll burn the stuff from the top down, and hopefully we will get a good oxidation of all the plastic, and there'll be nothing but white ash left and bits of metal in there. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see a lot of black carbon, and so far it's been working pretty good. When I do IC chips, we'll see how it works on these LEDs. Okay, let me reposition the camera. We'll get this thing lit and get this show on the road. Okay, let me put the lid on. A couple of pieces of kale wool fiber. Here's my chimney. Got little shark tooth cutouts to let fresh air in down at the bottom, and that promotes reburning of the particulates and gases that come out, so I don't have a lot of smoke. Get my propane torch lit here. There we go. Stay lit today. Pressure's a little low, that's why. There we go. It's gonna take a few minutes to heat up, and we'll see what happens. Alright, it's been a few minutes. It's gotten good and hot in there. We've got kind of the fire tornado effect going on, where there's a tornado of fire up here in the chimney. I got basically no visible smoke coming out of it. These things are burning cleaner than IC chips, which with this setup just produce a little bit of blue smoke now and then. But I see no smoke at all. Everything's reburning. I don't know if it's showing up on the camera, but flames are peeking up out of the top of the chimney now and then from the top of the fire tornado. These are burning up really nice, and there's a lot less plastic in there than with a full load of IC chips too, so this should go pretty quick. Well, it's been a little while, I don't know, 15-20 minutes. I got busy with some other stuff. Looked over here, and that's the air compressor. Anyway, I looked over here and saw that I didn't see any more fire coming out, so I came over and looked, and yeah, it looks like everything's done burning. Still got the trickle of air going. I'm going to leave that going until everything gets cold, just to make sure that any carbon down at the bottom inside the crucible gets burned off. In fact, I think I'll increase the flow of air a little bit now that the fire's off, and just make sure that all gets burned up. And now it's just a matter of waiting until it all cools down, then we can go on to further processing. Okay, it's the next day. Everything's cooled down, and here's the remains in the crucible after the incineration in the foundry furnace. So I've pulled the brake line out. This stuff's pretty light and fluffy, but there is still a fair amount of metal in it. Some of it's kind of oxidized looking, which is not a bad thing actually. That's good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this stuff through the blender, just like I do with incinerated IC chips. I'm going to run it through the blender and pass it through a sieve. And what I'll probably do after that is do a gravity separation on the fine stuff that makes it through the sieve, so we get rid of the bulk of the ashy stuff. Then we'll just deal with what's left after the gravity separation, plus any oversized stuff that goes in here. I'm going to process it all, and we'll see what we get. Because, you know, a lot of people, they will separate out the magnetic portion when they're processing IC chips. But I have found the magnetic portion contains significant gold. So I process it all. So we'll see what we get. I mean, there's not much material here. This is probably going to go pretty quick. Run it through the blender, run it through the sieve, gravity separation, which I don't know, may or may not happen today because it's raining again. And we'll see what we get. Yeah, this stuff's pretty fluffy. Breaks up pretty easy, but I just want to make sure we don't have any big lumps that are gonna prevent the acids from getting to the metals in there, and especially when we get to the aqua regia stage and we want to dissolve gold out of it. I don't want to have any big lumps in there that get in the way. I don't want to have any big lumps in there that are kind of impervious to the acids and get in the way of dissolving the gold. Okay, so I'm putting my dust mask on because this is a fairly dusty process. And here we go. There we go. Okay. virtues of being upwind. Give you a little wider view of what I'm doing here. So, yeah, I see there's still some lumps there. So the lumps go right back in, along with some more material. This stuff doesn't want to get started blending. I have to rock the blender back and forth quite a bit to get it to start flying around and engaging the blades. A little different looking from IC chip remains. It's got a grainier consistency and it's darker in color. Should have been pretty fully oxidized. In fact, that looks like rust to me. I think we've oxidized a lot of the metal. Okay, so I'm just going to keep this up. Oversized stuff back in the blender. A little bit more of this stuff. And keep this up until I've got everything to go through the screen that will go through the screen. Then we'll separate out the ash with a quick gravity separation. Alright, I've done. Everything's been through the blender. We've got kind of a strange situation here. There's a lot of metal here. And there's really not that much in the way of fines down here. There's, you know, normally I would do a gravity separation just to reduce the volume of stuff, so there's not, you know, too much to go in my beakers. Let me get this mask off. But this isn't a volume issue right here. We got, you know, there's not that much volume here. So this is the mostly metal part. And if I take a magnet to it, a lot of this stuff's going to stick to the magnet. But I see a lot of gold plating in here. I can pick it up. There's a piece right there that looks like it's gold plated. Shiny. You know, there's a lot of copper. There's some steel. A lot of steel. But a lot of this stuff, I see the glint of gold plating on it. So we're going to process all this stuff together. You know, the fine stuff that went through probably has the bulk of the bond wires in it. And this coarse stuff up here, I think just has some plating. Probably not a whole lot of gold in this coarse stuff. You know, small fraction of a gram maybe if we're lucky. I know all the bond wires are probably down here, but I think I'm just going to process it all together. And so we see what we get. That way, don't have to worry about leaving gold behind, okay? And also, we might get a bonus. Maybe some of this stuff's silver. I don't know if there's silver in LEDs. I'll tell you what, that's an awful shiny piece of metal right there. Awfully silvery looking shiny piece of metal. So there might be some silver in here too. So we're going to process all this stuff. It'll all fit in one of my big beakers. I don't have to worry about reducing the volume. So let me get this in a beaker and we'll get started on it. Saves me the trouble of going out in the rain and doing a gravity separation anyway. Okay, I got all the material from the LEDs in a beaker. That's not really all that much. That big sponge-like mass really compressed down with blending down to nothing. So, you know, I regularly process more material than this when I'm doing IC chips. So it's great that it all fits in one beaker. I'm going to put some distilled water on it to give the metal salts we're going to make something to dissolve in. I'll have to get more distilled water out here shortly. Yeah, there's a lot of metal in there, so we're going to need a fair amount of acid and some water for those salts to dissolve in. So that's about 800 milliliters. This stuff's looking a little bit hydrophobic. Let me stir it up to just make sure it's all getting wet. Okay, that's looking a little better. some scum floating on top, but I assume the acid will get to it. Close this down, start the fume hood, and we'll put some nitric acid on it. Turn the heat on the hot plate just to warm. And there's a lot of metal in there, so we're probably going to get a pretty vigorous reaction right off the bat. So I'm not going to put a huge amount of nitric acid in. Yeah, there we go. Bubbling away. When I was processing Nick's chips, I almost had a boil over because I put too much nitric acid in up front. There was a lot of metal in there. A little more. Okay, you can always add more later. Let this simmer away. Yeah, there we go. Now we got a heck of a reaction going. Let this simmer away until the reaction stops. And then I'll hit it with some more acid. And I'll keep that up until it looks like all the metal's dissolved. Alright, we got a nice vigorous reaction going on in there. Lots of brown fumes, lots of bubbling. Perfect. So I'm just going to let it sit. And I don't know if I mentioned this up front because I started this video like 4 months ago my time. I'm really not expecting to get a huge amount of gold out of this. It's more of to satisfy my curiosity and, you know, see whether the rumors, innuendo, and whatnot about how much gold is in LEDs is correct. I mean, I know there's gold in LEDs. I mean, heck, I can see it with a loupe. But how much gold is there? I guess we're going to find out. But I'm not getting my hopes up that there's a huge amount in there. But we'll find out exactly how much there is. It's been maybe an hour. I just gave it a stir. And there's still a fair reaction going on in there. We're still getting some brown fumes, getting a lot of bubbling going on. The liquid has turned a really nasty opaque brown, and there's a lot of particulate matter in there anyway. Plus, I'm sure the brown color is coming from all the iron that's going into solution. Iron, nickel, manganese, who knows what all was in that metal. So that's all going into solution as salts, and probably the iron is being oxidized to iron oxide by the nitric acid. I wouldn't be surprised. So it's like deja vu all over again. It's just like when I processed Nick's chips. It's the same thing. But that's okay. I know what I'm in for now, and I know what to do, I think. We'll find out. So I'm going to let this go until I'm not seeing any further reaction. And what I'll probably do is decant off the liquid and try to get a look and see how much metal's left in the bottom. There may not be much, because there wasn't all that much to start with, but there might be some left. If there is, I'll hit it with another shot of nitric acid. And then once the liquid's decanted off and had a chance to settle, all of those particulates settle out, which probably take a few hours to a day, and we got a layer of clear liquid on top, we can test it to see if it has any silver in it. So this is not going to be a quick and easy process. It's going to take a little while, but for you it'll all be compressed. Well, there was a little bit of a change in plan. I got really busy on other stuff around the farm here yesterday, so this has just sat here the whole time. I'm hoping that it's had plenty of time for the acid to dissolve away all the metal in the bottom. There doesn't seem to be any more fuming or bubbling going on. Well, not much bubbling. Every once in a while a bubble will come up. It could just be gently boiling, which is why it's still so turbid and hasn't settled out. I'm not sure. But what I still plan on doing is decanting off this liquid here when I get a chance. And we'll see what's left in the bottom of this beaker. But I'll do that between chores. I mean, as we speak, we've got our big mower over here I'm working on too. So, but you know, it's right here next to my lab, so I can go back and forth between the two. Alrighty, I've got a few minutes, so I'm going to decant off this liquid into another beaker, and we'll let it settle and see how it looks. Hopefully once this brown stuff settles out of it, which I'm pretty sure is iron oxide, once it settles out, we should have a pretty clear blue liquid. That will be copper nitrate and maybe a few other salts. You know, that's pretty hot. Let me put some leather gloves on over these. Okay, there we go, doubly protected. That is some nasty looking stuff. But I've been here before. It should settle out over a period of a few hours or a day and leave clear liquid behind. And we'll get a look at what's on the bottom of this beaker. Well, I'm still seeing some metal in here, which doesn't really surprise me. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some more distilled water in there and some more nitric acid. Give it a good stir and see if we can get any more of that metal to dissolve. I'm not going to make the mistake I made with Nick's chips and put any sulfuric acid in there and try and speed things up, because I think that's what screwed up the silver recovery. And I'd be interested to know if there's any silver in these LEDs. I mean, hey, even if there's no silver, that's a result, right? Oh yeah, look at that. I haven't even stirred it up yet, so there's a lot of metal left in there. I guess all the acid was just used up. We can get some more of this metal to go into solution. I'd like to get rid of all that base metal if I can before we switch to the aqua regia. Oh, I'll let it cook some more. Yeah, we got a heck of a reaction going on now. Yeah, I see the brown fumes starting to form. So it's been a little while, I don't know, maybe an hour. I just stirred this up and it really got going good again. This liquid, let me draw your attention to it. You can see that it is clearing from the top down. Hope that's showing up. And we get a nice layer of clear liquid on top. All of the muck is slowly settling down to the bottom. So that's good. This is clear enough now that we can do a test on it for silver. See if there's any significant amount of silver in it. So over here, I've got some tap water, which of course has chlorine in it. Put a little bit of that in here. And then let me draw off a little bit of this liquid with the pipette over here and see what happens when we put it into the tap water. A little more. A good test here. So I don't know. I've never processed LEDs in any quantity before, so I don't know if they contain any silver or not. That's a little cloudy. I would say there is some silver there. So okay, we'll get a little bit of a bonus of silver, along with whatever gold we get. So that's nice to know. So I'm sure once this liquid's done, and I'll decant it off into the same beaker and let it settle again. And so I'm sure this liquid, this next batch of liquid, will have silver in it too. Okay, good deal. Just got to keep it going. I'm not in any rush. We're already into the 4th month of this project. I don't care if it takes a few more days. Well, it's the next day again. I got busy with stuff around the farm again and left this to sit another day. And it's going to be another busy day. I may get a chance to just work on this a minute here, a minute there today. But what's interesting is, hopefully this is showing up, the liquid has cleared out. Most of the turbidity has settled. We got some nice clear bluish liquid here. And there's no more bubbling, there's no more fuming, so either all of the acid is used up, dissolving metal, or all of the metal has been dissolved in the acid. Not sure which, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to decant this liquid over into here, and we'll have a look at what's down in the bottom of the beaker. See if we still see any metal down there, or if it's pretty much all gone. Hoping for all gone. Yeah, I'm making this stuff on the right all turbid again, but it'll settle again. You know, I do see some metal down there. I see gold. There's flecks and bits of gold all over the place in there. I think I see some other bits of metal too, though. Some copper and maybe some silvery stuff. We may still be dissolving silver out of this. You know what? I might just hit this with some more distilled water and acid. I'm starting to see gold. That's a good thing. So I'm going to put some more distilled water in here. Turn the heat on it a little bit. And then put in some nitric acid and we'll see what happens. You know, if we don't get much of a reaction, we'll just assume that we've dissolved out as much of the metal as we're gonna. Let that heat up and see what goes on. Oh, we got some bubbling. Okay, we got bubbling. So it's working. There's still more metal in there. Looks like some of it might have been silver, so, you know, we'll dissolve that. Yeah. And this stuff will settle out again, and we'll have a nice clear layer on top that I can siphon off eventually, and, you know, we'll get some cement silver out of it, I'll bet. So, okay, just going to let this cook while I work around the farm, as per usual. This takes another day. I'm fine with that. I got too many other things to do. Alright, I'm back. This has been sitting here basically all morning since I put that last bit of acid in and stirred it up. I got busy. I finished up on our big mower and got it put away, and wife's birthday's coming up in a couple days. She wanted new bumpers on her Jeep, so I've been installing bumpers. So that's what I've been doing while this has just been sitting here. Now the reaction seems to have died down. I stirred it up recently and really nothing happened. No more bubbling, no more fuming. But let me show you something. Take the lid off, and I hope this will show up on camera. I'm not 100% certain it will. You might have to take my word for it. Piece of copper wire here. Stick it in here. I don't know if you can see the bubbles coming off of it. So there's still active nitric acid in there. See the bubbles down there? So there's still active nitric acid in there. It's attacking the copper. In fact, the copper kind of looks like it's silver plated now. Interesting. Might be a fair amount of silver in here. But since the reaction has basically stopped, but there's still active nitric in there, that tells me we have dissolved as much of the metal in nitric acid as we're going to. I'm not going to make the same mistake I did with mixed chips and put any sulfuric acid in here to digest anything that the nitric hasn't done. Anything that's left in here is just going to be there when we do the aqua reject. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decant this stuff off again, the liquid, and maybe even give the mud in the bottom a rinse or two and decant that liquid off. And we'll see what we've got left, and then maybe make some aqua regia. But I got to get some better gloves because these aren't going to protect me from that hot beaker. Oh, and this is settling nice again, so I'm just about to make it all turbid again. Oh well. It can take as long as it wants to settle again. Yeah, I see gold in there. Nice. Okay, my beaker's getting pretty full, so I'm not going to be able to get as much rinse water on this as I'd like. One or two small rinses, I might get the bulk of this red rusty stuff out of here anyway. We'll see. Red-brown rusty stuff. Chance to settle. Yeah. See gold in there. Oh! I sure hope that's showing up. I don't know if it is or not. There's a band of gold in the beaker right there. Now, let's see if I can get it to focus. Not easy to do with leather gloves on. There's a nice band of gold on the bottom of the beaker. I don't think it's a whole lot of gold. And I see bits of gold foil down in there on the bottom. Okay, so this beaker is basically full. What I might do is give this a few more rinses and dump it into another beaker, because I think if there was silver in this, we probably got the bulk of it in those first two rinses. But I would like to get some more of the orange stuff out of this beaker, so I think I'll rinse it a couple more times. I'll probably do that off camera, just into another beaker. Okay, I did a couple more rinses off camera. Actually, probably more like 4 or 5. I got the bulk, I think, of the brown-red stuff out of it, but I'll never get it all out. I gotta rinse it till the cows come home, and there's still a lot of it in there. We're just gonna have to live with it when we go to aqua regia. But here, after swirling this stuff around, I hope that's showing up. There's some gold right there in the bottom of the beaker. So, we got a little bit of gold here. Maybe not a lot, but at least some. I also see little flecks of gold in amongst the stuff in there. So there's a little bit of gold here. We'll see how much. Alrighty, so got it back in the fume hood. We're ready to make some aqua regia. Ooh, this is getting low. I know I got another one somewhere. This might be enough. Oh yeah, I think that's... I might as well use the rest of it. Not much left. It's probably more than enough. Okay. And we'll put a few squirts of nitric acid in there. That's about 2 milliliters. That's about 4 milliliters. I know there's not that much gold in there, but there might be some traces of other metals left behind, so I'm going to put another milliliter in there. We'll call it 5 milliliters. And it may need more than that to get the gold into solution, because the other metals, if there's like some copper, some nickel, some iron left in there. They're gonna react with the acids first, so we got to use them up before the gold goes in. I am starting to see some bubbling though. Hasn't even really had a chance to warm up, so it's starting to bubble, so that's good. So we'll see what happens now. Oh, and this liquid over here is starting to clear again. That's good. Clearing from the top down. Nice. It seems like they've got a lot of silver in there. And I wouldn't be surprised if this winds up with a little bit of silver in it too. So I'll have to filter that out before we drop the gold. Filter it out as silver chloride. Oh yeah, now we're getting some bubbling. Okay, let it cook. See what happens. Had a pretty good reaction going on in there for a while, but things seem to be dying down, winding down. So I'm going to let it go for a little while longer until I don't see any more fumes or real bubbling. And then we'll do a stannous chloride test on it and see how it looks. Okay, this seems to be pretty much done. I think we got a little bit of boiling going on. But I think I might put a few drops more of nitric acid in and just leave it on low heat overnight, just to make sure all the gold has gone into solution. I don't care if there's a little bit of extra nitric acid in there. I'll denox it tomorrow. I just want to make sure all the gold goes into solution. Speaking of gold, let's see if we have gold in solution. Okay, I've got some freshly made stannous chloride solution over here. And let me get a couple of drops of the solution out of the beaker over here, and we will test it and see what it looks like. Well, it's a little turbid. Yeah, I think it is gently boiling in there. It's got some solids in it. I'll turn the heat down. Good color though. Interestingly, that red-brown stuff turned transparent after I put the aqua regia on it. Well, there's the proof. We got purple-black, so we got some gold in solution. I wouldn't say it's a hugely strong indication of gold, so I'm not expecting to get a huge amount of gold out of this. Probably less than a gram, maybe quite a bit less than a gram. Well, what do we start with? Less than a kilogram of starting material, so still pretty rich considering the amount of starting material. But you know, like I said, I think I'm going to let this cook overnight. Maybe give it a little squirt of nitric acid just to make sure if there's any lingering gold down in that mud, it gets a chance to dissolve into the aqua regia. We'll denox it tomorrow, filter it, drop the gold.